Narcissism isn't strength. It's a weakness a true Stoic must eradicate. I stand before you as a philosopher of human ethics, shaped by the cold steel of logic and the Stoic quest to grasp the essence of our existence. We live in a world where the ego whispers lies of grandeur, promising power but delivering chains. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor-philosopher, once wrote, "Look within. Let neither the peculiar quality of anything nor its value escape you." Today, we'll hold that mirror up to ourselves, not to judge, but to see. Through 5 hidden signs, we'll peel back the layers of narcissism, a foe to the tranquil life Stoicism demands. This isn't just a lesson, it's a challenge. Let's begin. 5 signs of narcissism. Through a Stoic lens. 1. You monopolize conversations. The narcissist speaks to be heard, not to understand. Their words flood the air, leaving no room for others' voices. A torrent of self-obsession. Picture a man in a bustling tavern, his tankard raised, regaling a crowd with tales of his exploits, the deals he's struck, the foes he's vanquished. His companion, a quiet farmer named Gaius, sits unnoticed, his own tale of a lost harvest swallowed by the din. The braggart doesn't see Gaius's silence. He doesn't care to. To him, the conversation is a stage, and he's the sole actor. I once met a merchant in a Roman forum who spoke for an hour about his caravans crossing the desert, dates, profits, bandits repelled. I asked him, "What did your porters teach you on that journey?" He blinked, mouth agape, then fell silent. That pause was his first taste of humility. Seneca, the great teacher, warned us, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we may listen twice as much as we speak." The Stoic doesn't clamor for attention. He seeks wisdom. Knowing truth hides in the pauses. Are you the tavern braggart or Gaius seeking meaning? Do you speak to inflate yourself or to connect? A mind enslaved to its own noise cannot find peace. 2. You feel superior. Tall man syndrome. Narcissism breeds a false sense of elevation. Those who deem themselves taller than others, not in stature but in spirit. They point to their gold, their beauty, their titles, as if these trinkets define their worth. Imagine a merchant named Lucius, newly rich, his roseau dyed purple, his nose tilted skyward as he passes his old friend Marcus, a laborer who once shared his bread. Yesterday, they laughed over watered wine. Today, Lucius sees a worm beneath his sandal. This is their tall man syndrome, not height, but arrogance. I recall a senator in Rome, Publius, who strutted through the forum boasting of his lineage. Descended from consuls, he claimed. One day, a beggar named Cato met his gaze, unbowed, his rags clean and his eyes steady. Publius faltered, his voice shrinking. Epictetus, the former slave, cuts through this illusion. Wealth is not a good, it's merely a tool. Virtue alone makes us free. The Stoic rises by lifting his soul, not by stepping on others. Do you judge your worth by what you own or by what you are? Superiority is a phantom. It fades when the props fall away. 3. You ignore rules. To the narcissist, rules are shackles on their divine freedom. They speed past limits, take what isn't theirs, bend the world to their whims. Picture a driver, Decimus, racing his chariot through a narrow street in Capua, dust choking children playing nearby, all for the thrill of his haste. He laughs at the magistrate's edicts, believing they bow to him. But this isn't liberty. It's chaos in a mask. I once watched a thief, Tertius, in Athens, slip a coin from a vendor's pouch, grinning as if he'd won a game. Days later, caught by the watchman, he begged for mercy, not out of regret, but fear of the lash. Marcus Aurelius saw deeper. What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears. Rules aren't punishment, they're reason's scaffolding. The Stoic obeys not from cowardice, but from principle. Do you twist rules to serve yourself, or align with the order that binds us? Freedom without reason is a prison you build. 4. You reject criticism. The narcissist flinches at critique, striking back like a cornered beast. To them, every correction is a blade aimed at their fragile throne. Imagine a soldier, Titus, young and brash, drilling in the legion's courtyard near Antioch. His captain points out a flaw. His stance too wide, too weak. Titus snaps, "I've killed more men than you've trained," and storms off, bound to his own ruin. Months later, that flaw costs him a wound in battle. I knew a sculptor, Flaccus, chiseling marble under the midday sun. A passerby noted a crack in the stone. Flaccus didn't curse. He thanked the man and refined his work. That statue now graces a temple, flawless. Seneca offers clarity. You must be taught by others if you're to learn yourself. Criticism isn't a foe, it's a forge. The Stoic steps into it, letting the hammer shape him. When the world corrects you, do you rage or grow? Truth stings, but it strengthens. 5. You blame others and hide self-hatred. The narcissist wields blame as a shield, forged in a fire of shame. They point outward to escape the mirror. Picture a boy, Quintus, spilling milk at his father's table in a dim-lit villa. His father looms, voice sharp. "Clumsy fool, look what you've done." Quintus learns not to mop the spill, but to cry, "The cups was cracked." As a man, he fails to deliver grain on time and snarls at his partner, "You distracted me." Beneath it lies self-hatred, whispering he'll never be enough. I met a carpenter, Vibius, who botched a chair's leg. Wobbly, uneven. His apprentice braced for anger, but Vibius laughed, "I held the chisel wrong. Next time, I won't." He remade it, and that chair became his finest. Epictetus cuts to the core. There is only one way to happiness. Cease worrying about things beyond your control. The Stoic owns his spills. Knowing fault is the path to mastery. Do you dodge your errors or face them? Power lies in the flaws you mend. 5 signs of narcissism. Stories. 1. You monopolize conversations. In a bustling tavern, a man lifts his tankard, his voice booming with tales of deals struck and foes vanquished. His companion, Gaius, a quiet farmer, sits with a story of his lost harvest, locked inside, unheard. The braggart's words drown the air. A stage for one. Across the sea in Athens, Claudia, a poet, recites grand verses at a symposium, cutting off her friend Livia's humble ode with a sneer, "Mine burn brighter." Livia lowers her eyes, her voice lost. 2. You feel superior, tall man syndrome. Lucius, A merchant draped in purple robes strides past Marcus, a laborer who once shared his bread. Yesterday, they laughed as equals. Today, Lucius sees only a worm beneath his sandal. In Pompeii, Aemilia, a noblewoman with pearls in her hair, hosts a feast, praising her lineage. Her cook, Paulus, crafts the banquet in silence. She dismisses him as a shadow, though his hands feed her glory. 3. You ignore rules. Decimus races his chariot through Capua's narrow streets, dust choking children at play, his laughter mocking the magistrate's edicts. In Corinth, Brutus, a trader, tips the scales against a fisherman, pocketing extra coin with a grin. The market owes me. Caught, he curses the guards, his hands still clutching the profit. 4. You reject criticism. Titus, a soldier, drills in Antioch's courtyard, his stance wide and weak. His captain corrects him. Titus snaps, "I've killed more than you've trained." He storms off, later wounded by that flaw. In Rome, Sylvia, a weaver, hears her mentor note a loose thread. She retorts, "My hands are finer," and discards the loom, her work unraveling. 5. You blame others and hide self-hatred. Quintus, a boy, spills milk at his father's table. "Clumsy fool!" his father snarls, and Quintus cries, "The cup was cracked!" As a man, he fails and blames his partner. In Herculaneum, Drusilla, a baker, burns her bread and snaps at her apprentice. "You stoked the fire wrong." Alone, she weeps, hating her trembling hands. Narcissism isn't a crown, it's a cage. These 5 signs, monopolizing words like the tavern braggart, chasing superiority like Lucius, scorning rules like Decimus, rejecting critique like Titus, shifting blame like Quintus, aren't flaws to shame, but shadows to banish. Stoicism demands we prune the ego like a vine, stripping excess to reveal virtue. I once knew a man, Elias, who boasted until he sat in silence for a day, alone with his thoughts. Only then did he hear his soul's quiet plea for clarity. Here's the lesson. The ego thrives on illusion. Control it, or it controls you. Gaius found peace in listening, Marcus in humility, Tertius in consequence, Flaccus in growth, Vibius in ownership. The Stoic doesn't seek applause. He seeks the tranquil strength of a life well lived. Today, take one step. Sit for 5 minutes and ask, where am I blind to myself? Let the answer guide you. Your soul depends on it. If this path stirs you, subscribe. Join us as we carve wisdom from the chaos.